In this ballet bite, we're going to talk about core control. So core control is really important in ballet and in all your workouts that you're doing at home or in classes. It's going to support the pelvis, it's going to support the lower back, and you must be really aware of the lower abdominals. So we're going to talk about lower abdominals first. I'd like you to lie down. If you've got a mat at home, it's probably more comfortable for you to lie on a mat. Just lying down, bend the knees, keep them hip width apart, the feet and the knees hip width apart, lying down. The spine is nice and lengthened and the pelvis is neutral. So you're not tucking the pelvis under to get the back on the floor, and you're not tilting it and arching and bringing the ribs up. It's somewhere in between, so it's just a neutral pelvis. And I want you to just feel your breath for a moment. So take the hands and place them on top of the hips, and you're just going to breathe in through the rib cage. So pulling the tummy through to the back and using the ribs. So breathing in and exhaling. You could place your hands on your rib cage and feel the rib cage moving out to the side as you breathe in. It expands, and as you exhale, it comes back in. I want you to practice that a few more times, feeling the rib cage moving out to the side, also breathing through your lungs through the back. So feel each breath come through into the floor as you expand the rib cage, and exhaling, and everything's collecting. So we're going to practice a few more of those breaths. Each time you exhale now, I want you to think about all the little muscles below the belly button, between the hip bones, collecting. So you're going to breathe in, everything will expand, the diaphragm will drop down as you inhale. And as you exhale, I want you to feel everything collecting. So you feel as though the hip bones are drawing together. You're going to pull up the pelvic floor as though you're trying to stop going to the toilet. And as you inhale again, everything will expand through the floor as well. And exhale, everything will collect. So pulling the belly button through to the back, feeling those hip bones drawing closer together, and at the same time pulling up the pelvic floor. Now this does take some practice, you might not be able to feel it initially, but if you can then place your hand over those lower abdominals, I'm going to move my hand out of the way so you can see. I want you, without any movement in the back whatsoever, to draw those muscles through to the back. So think about drawing the sacrum and the lower abdominals down. So you're pulling it in and relax. And again, you can see hopefully this part coming down into the sacrum and release. If you can practice that breathing exercise, the exhaling, expanding the rib cage, and as you exhale, everything collecting below the belly button, so pulling up the pelvic floor. Some people talk about imagining your ovaries lifting inside. That's not my favourite explanation. Often in class I use a fishhook example, which is equally not as nice, but imagine a fishhook inside and it's underneath the belly button. That fishhook has got hold of all the muscles that are below the belly button. It's pulling them back towards the sacrum and up behind the belly button. So try and imagine that, pulling those muscles up and back. That takes some practice though, but during class, throughout some of the core control work, I will remind you we're going to do some specific lower abdominal work where you will be working those muscles. We're going to go on now to talk about plank and the correct way of planking. So we're going to come into a plank. We're going to come clasping the hands is my preferred way of doing it. So taking the feet out so they're hip width apart. The elbows need to be placed under the shoulders, both elbows under the shoulders, and the weight is on the forearms, not on the hands, which is why I prefer not to have the hands down, clasping the hands. The weight is over the forearms, and you're really working the back. So pull the shoulder blades down in the back as well. There should be a straight line from the top of the head all the way down to the heels. So don't dip the hips down because then you're going to hurt your lower back, and try not to be in this position because it's much easier. Bring it in a straight line, but do make sure that those elbows are under the shoulders to support the shoulders so you're not damaging the shoulder cuff. Tummy pulled in nice and tight, pressing back through the heels. So you're in a nice stable position, pulling the tummy in and lengthening the spine. When we come to raise one leg in plank, so just raising it slightly off the floor, try and make sure that both hips remain facing the floor. Don't twist the hips around. So headlights on the hips, as we discussed in posture, raising the leg, the hips stay there. If in plank it's too much in this position and you need to take the knees down, by all means take the knees down, release the toes, keep the tummy pulled in. Far better to work in this position with correct form. You're still working the abdominals, that's absolutely fine. You can place a mat or towel underneath the knees if that's not comfortable, but by all means work in that position. And if you need to take a break, take a break. It's much better to have correct form than try and push through something with incorrect form. But we will go through all of that when we come to do the planks. I'll remind you. But if you can practice all of that in the week before you start the workouts, practice the correct form for both the lower abdominals and the planks, then when you come to do those workouts, you'll be good to go.